Princess Catherine left royal followers deeply moved during her most recent visit to Italy after a quiet, unexpected moment with a young child suddenly captured global attention. As crowds gathered during her engagements, cameras recorded a touching scene that quickly spread across social media and news platforms. A small blonde girl gently leaned against the Princess of Wales, and without any hesitation, Catherine instinctively responded by wrapping her arm around the child in a soft, reassuring embrace. There were no rehearsed gestures or formal royal protocol in that instant, just a natural, unguarded moment of warmth that immediately resonated with viewers around the world. What struck many royal observers most was the emotional ease visible in Catherine's response. She appeared calm, grounded, and fully present in the moment, as if her attention was entirely focused on comforting the child rather than acknowledging the surrounding cameras or crowd. This simple interaction quickly became one of the most talked about highlights of the entire visit. The moment took place during Princess Catherine's May 13th engagements in Italy, where she attended a series of community-centered and education-focused events. These activities were closely linked to early childhood development, a long-standing area of importance in her public work and charitable focus. However, it was this brief and silent exchange that became the emotional centerpiece of the day. Many people standing nearby were seen smiling as the scene unfolded naturally in front of them. Several even instinctively raised their phones to capture the moment, clearly recognizing that they were witnessing something rare in its authenticity. In a modern world where public appearances are often carefully planned and highly controlled, moments that feel spontaneous and genuine tend to stand out more than anything else. This particular interaction between Catherine and the young child quickly became a powerful example of that contrast. Royal watchers who have followed the Princess of Wales over the years often point to her natural ease with children as one of her most recognizable qualities. Yet this moment felt even more emotionally charged than usual, carrying a deeper sense of tenderness and reassurance that resonated strongly with viewers. The child appeared completely at ease leaning into her, while Catherine responded with a calm, almost instinctive, protective warmth. To many observers, she did not appear as a distant royal figure in that moment, but rather as someone offering genuine maternal comfort in a deeply human way. Without any speeches, statements, or staged presentation, the brief embrace communicated a powerful message of compassion and emotional presence. It was this simplicity that made the moment so impactful, allowing it to connect instantly with audiences far beyond Italy. Throughout the visit, Princess Catherine appeared notably relaxed, a detail that did not go unnoticed by royal commentators and public observers. In recent months, her appearances have been followed closely as she gradually resumes her official duties, making every public engagement a subject of heightened attention and analysis. Body language experts and royal watchers alike have commented on a growing sense of confidence in her demeanor during recent outings. In Italy, this impression seemed even more pronounced, with many suggesting that this visit reflected one of her most composed and emotionally grounded appearances in recent memory. The emotional tone of the trip became even clearer during her visit to the International Loris Malaguzzi Center, where she participated in hands-on activities with children and educators. The environment focused on creative learning methods, encouraging exploration, imagination, and collaboration through practical engagement. During a clay workshop session, photographs captured Catherine smiling, laughing, and actively participating alongside children as they shaped and molded clay. The atmosphere appeared informal and joyful, with a clear emphasis on shared experience rather than formal observation. This type of engagement aligned closely with her long-standing advocacy for early childhood development, emotional well-being, and supportive family environments. Over the years, she has consistently highlighted the importance of nurturing environments during a child's earliest stages of growth, and this visit directly reflected those values in action. Rather than functioning as a simple ceremonial appearance or visual opportunity, the workshop felt more immersive and participatory. It gave the impression that she was not only observing but actively engaging with the learning process, reinforcing the authenticity of her commitment to the cause. Beyond the specific activities, many observers noted a broader shift in how Catherine presents herself during public engagements. There is an increasing emphasis on presence over presentation and emotional connection over formal display. This subtle evolution has become a defining feature of her recent public appearances. In this context, the Italy visit stood out not because of grand gestures or dramatic moments, but because of its consistency in tone. From quiet embraces to shared creative activities, each moment contributed to an overall impression of sincerity and emotional accessibility. In my opinion, this approach also reflects something larger about the modern perception of royalty. The institution continues to evolve not only through tradition and duty, but also through emotional resonance with the public. Princess Catherine, in particular, seems to understand this balance intuitively. She maintains the dignity expected of her role while still allowing space for warmth, humanity, and natural emotional expression to emerge in public settings. This combination of restraint and openness is precisely what makes moments like these resonate so strongly with audiences today. What made this particular Italy visit stand out even further was how naturally emotional moments seemed to unfold without any sense of staging or effort. Across different engagements, Princess Catherine's interactions consistently carried a calm, grounded quality that resonated strongly with both those present in person and audiences watching online. Observers noted that the connection she formed with children throughout the visit appeared especially genuine. Rather than brief or formal exchanges, many of these moments involved extended eye contact, soft smiles, and a patient willingness to engage at the child's level. This created an atmosphere that felt relaxed and emotionally open. The now widely discussed embrace with the young girl became the defining image of the day, but it also reflected a broader pattern seen throughout the visit. Catherine consistently demonstrated a natural ease in environments centered around children and learning, reinforcing her long-standing association with early childhood initiatives. Many royal commentators pointed out that while she has always been known for her warmth with children, the emotional depth displayed during this visit felt more pronounced. There was a noticeable softness in her demeanor, paired with a quiet confidence that suggested comfort in her evolving public role. This combination of emotional presence and composure helped shape the public perception of the visit as something more than a routine royal engagement. Instead, it began to be viewed as a series of meaningful human interactions that collectively told a larger story about connection and empathy. At the same time, the public reaction highlighted how quickly authentic-looking moments can resonate in today's media environment. With cameras constantly present and social platforms amplifying every detail, brief interactions can take on significant emotional weight once shared widely. In Catherine's case, the simplicity of the moment was what gave it its power. There was no scripted dialogue, no formal announcement, and no deliberate attempt to create a viral scene. It was a spontaneous response that unfolded naturally and was later interpreted as deeply symbolic by viewers. This interpretation was further strengthened by the broader context of her recent return to public life. Having been gradually resuming duties after a challenging personal period, each appearance has carried added attention and emotional sensitivity from the public. As a result, Even small gestures are often viewed through a wider lens of resilience and recovery. What might once have been seen as a routine interaction is now often interpreted as part of a larger narrative about strength, continuity, and gradual re-engagement with royal responsibilities. Despite this heightened scrutiny, Catherine's demeanor throughout the visit remained steady and unforced. She did not appear to perform for attention or adjust her behavior for the cameras. Instead, she maintained a consistent presence that emphasized attentiveness and calm engagement. This consistency contributed significantly to the overall impression of authenticity. Whether interacting with children, educators, or community members, her approach remained aligned with the same tone of warmth and simplicity. Over time, this created a unified perception of the visit as emotionally coherent, where individual moments reinforced one another rather than standing in isolation. The embrace with a young girl simply became the most visible example of a wider pattern already present throughout the day. Ultimately, this visit reinforced how powerful understated human connection can be when placed in a public setting. Without dramatic gestures or elaborate presentation, it managed to leave a lasting emotional impact through sincerity, simplicity, and presence alone. As the Italy visit continued to unfold, public attention increasingly focused on the emotional consistency running through every engagement rather than isolated highlights. Viewers began to see the trip as a continuous flow of genuine human moments that collectively shaped a powerful impression of warmth and authenticity. Princess Catherine's interactions throughout the day were frequently described as calm and unforced. Whether she was speaking with children, greeting educators, or observing learning activities, she maintained a steady sense of presence that made each exchange feel personal and meaningful. Royal commentators noted that this sense of ease has become more noticeable in her recent public appearances. While she has always been regarded as composed and professional, there appears to be a growing softness in her approach, an ability to balance formality with emotional accessibility in a way that feels increasingly natural. In Italy, this balance was especially visible. The environment itself, centered around education, creativity, and community engagement, seemed to encourage a more relaxed rhythm to the day. Within this setting, Catherine's interactions appeared even more fluid and connected. Media coverage across Italy reflected this impression, often emphasizing not just what she did, but how she made people feel during those interactions. Reports frequently highlighted the warmth of her presence and the ease with which she engaged with both children and adults. One of the most discussed aspects of the visit was the way brief, simple gestures carried unexpected emotional weight. A gentle smile, a quiet nod, or a moment of attentive listening often became memorable highlights once captured and shared widely online. This phenomenon was amplified by the nature of modern media, where short clips and photographs can quickly shape public interpretation. In Catherine's case, these small fragments of interaction contributed to a larger narrative centered on empathy and human connection. Importantly, none of these moments appeared forced or deliberately constructed. Instead, they unfolded naturally within the flow of the engagements, which is precisely what made them resonate so strongly with audiences. At the same time, the broader context of her recent return to public life continued to influence how the visit was perceived. Each appearance carries an added layer of public interest, with audiences paying closer attention to emotional tone, body language, and subtle expressions. This heightened awareness has transformed even ordinary interactions into meaningful points of discussion. However, despite this increased scrutiny, Catherine's behavior remained consistent and composed throughout the visit. She appeared fully engaged in each moment without showing signs of distraction or performance. This steadiness reinforced the impression that her focus remained on the people and causes she was interacting with rather than on external attention. As a result, the Italy visit came to be viewed not simply as a series of scheduled royal duties, but as a cohesive experience shaped by emotional presence. Each engagement contributed to an overarching sense of sincerity that defined the entire day. Over time, this accumulation of small but meaningful interactions created a lasting impression that extended beyond the immediate events. It became less about individual highlights and more about the overall feeling the visit left behind. In this way, the trip reinforced a broader understanding of modern public engagement, one where authenticity, consistency, and emotional awareness often carry more influence than formal statements or staged moments. By the final stage of Princess Catherine's Italy visit, the emotional impact of the trip had already extended far beyond its original diplomatic purpose. What began as a structured series of royal engagements gradually developed into a widely discussed moment shaped by perception, emotion, and the subtle power of human connection. Across every appearance, Catherine maintained a calm and composed presence that continued to draw public attention. Her ability to remain steady under constant observation, while still appearing warm and approachable, became one of the most defining aspects of the entire visit. Many observers interpreted this balance as a reflection of her evolving public role. Rather than relying on formality or distance, she seemed increasingly comfortable expressing warmth in a more natural and understated way. This shift contributed significantly to how audiences responded to her throughout the trip. The emotional reaction from the public was not centered around any single dramatic event, but rather the accumulation of small, meaningful interactions. Moments such as quiet conversations, attentive listening, and gentle gestures gradually formed a larger narrative of empathy and connection. In this sense, the visit became less about isolated highlights and more about continuity of tone. Each engagement reinforced the same underlying impression, one of sincerity, patience, and emotional presence. This consistency played a major role in how the visit was ultimately remembered. Instead of being defined by spectacle, it was shaped by atmosphere. The feeling it left behind became just as important as the events themselves. At the same time, the visit also sparked broader reflection on the role of modern royalty in a rapidly changing media landscape. Public figures today are often evaluated not only on official duties, but also on relatability, emotional intelligence, and authenticity in real-time interactions. Catherine's appearances in Italy became a clear example of this shift. Her engagements demonstrated how presence and attentiveness can carry as much influence as formal speeches or ceremonial displays. Despite the level of public attention, she continued to present herself with consistency and restraint. There was no sense of overexposure or performance-driven behavior. Instead, her approach remained grounded and focused on the purpose of each engagement. This restraint, combined with emotional openness, created a unique dynamic that resonated strongly with audiences. It suggested confidence without excess and warmth without theatrical expression. As images and discussions from the visit continued to circulate, the narrative gradually expanded beyond the events themselves. People were no longer just reacting to what happened. They were interpreting what it meant and why it felt different from typical royal appearances. Ultimately, the Italy visit came to represent more than a diplomatic journey. It became a reflection of how modern public connection is formed through small moments, quiet gestures, and an overall sense of genuine human presence that lingers long after the event has ended.